Well, I think the biggest part of our policy or procedures that we would follow is just making sure that pedagogically we're following what's expected of our students while here at school. So there's a, although there's the right for freedom of expression, we don't want to create an environment that's hostile, that's biased, that may cause an uproar. So with many of the things that our students do, for instance, in our jacket journal, there's a right by the principal to preview the information and a right to review it. And then that way there's, like we always tell the students, if you're going to give a story, let's try to give the story on an unbiased way. Let's give both points of view. There's been some cases already, I think, throughout the district where some of those things have happened. Normally what we'll do is we don't necessarily per se monitor Facebook and MySpace and all that, but there are some issues that have transpired not only with staff but also student to student. And one of the things that we always take to heart is let's be respectful of each other. I think that's one of our key rules. If someone steps over that boundary or guideline, certainly our first attempt is to make sure we contact the parent and let them know what our concerns are. Obviously you have some slander and liability laws that you have to certainly abide by, but our first course of action is going to be contact with the parent and letting them know what our concerns are and certainly addressing them at that point. We don't necessarily say we're going to pursue legal action. I think we're going to try to handle it amongst both parties. It has, in a sense that there's some friction that develops outside of school, and when students come back in, a lot of that controversy trickles in with them as they come into school. So if there's some bashing or some statements that are being made, a lot of times we'll intervene, we'll do a conflict resolution, we'll contact the parents and try to get both parties to understand, school is really a neutral place. We'd really like to have everyone come here, do their part in education and do their part in learning and not creating any tension additionally here at school. And sometimes we'll even do outreach programs where we'll talk to the resource officer, community churches, and get those folks involved if there's a need for greater intervention. They do have freedom of expression as long as it's not disrupting school. I think that's the key. Is we do have our procedures and guidelines. We want to make sure school consistently follows the bell schedule, and then there's not any disruptions. There's organizations that meet here at school for various different reasons. We have an open organization where you can start your own clubs depending on whatever your interests and concerns are. There's really no bias from us allowing them to do the various different interests and activities they want as long as it's not disrupting school during our school day. If there's handouts they want to hand out during lunchtime or during a certain class, we just ask that they clear it with administration. We just don't want to use our captive audience as a forum for whatever their special issues are. We just want to make sure it's done in a proper way that's not disruptive to the rest of the school. We haven't had anything recently. I know in the past there's been issues where schools have had students wear controversial T-shirts, whether it's gang affiliated, or most of the time if we're going to respond to something like that, we've got some documentation and some history that basically educates us and lets us know this is a concern for the following reason. If we see something that's gang related and our sheriff's department's involved in those sorts of topics and concerns, and certainly that's a process where we're going to communicate with them and make sure that's not creating a hostile environment here. If it's considered inappropriate outside of school, we certainly don't want it here. For the most part, our students know we have a pretty flexible dress code, but yet still within certain guidelines. And they know if it's anything vulgar or inappropriate that disrespects individuals or a group of individuals, that's really not the place for that kind of advertisement. Again, school is the main purpose for us to be here is to educate, make sure everyone's comfortable and has an equal chance to learn.